I think my heart, really it's full of pride for me to be at Maitai Samoa. Everywhere I go, I always carry that. I just carry the mana, knowing that, mum and dad came here for me, but I also know that wherever I go, I represent them, but also, my beautiful nation.
Welcome to the Education Podcast, where it's all about helping people and organizations unleash their greatness. Hosted by me, Pasitawa Haufano, and my brother,
that's me, Kalolo Haufano.
This Education Podcast features lively discussions.
When they share it, you see that they're beginning to feel empowered.
My heart, it's full of pride for me to be at Maitai Samoa.
As well as tips on leadership and business by some of the top minds and influencers around the world.
You don't necessarily need a degree these days. There's so many pathways to success.
Welcome to the Education Podcast.
Well, welcome to Education, the mission to help unleash the greatness of everyone that we come across. I'm so grateful to be able to be here and to be able to interview someone I look up to, Eteroa Lafaele. My name is Kalolo Haufano, and I will be having a chat with you today. So, Eteroa Lafaele, yes. First and foremost, I just wanted to say the first time I came across you was through a 2018 video on YouTube. So I knew from a distance, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
You got a bit viral there on Facebook, girl, with your graduation and you just flaunting it and strutting that stuff up there on the stage. But how powerful it is to have a wahine stand up that's Pasifika graduating from a computer science degree. And then coming to now and how I got to connect to you today was through, as you know, a good friend of ours, mutual friend, Cecilia Lynch, Microsoft, one of our besties. Who talks so highly of you. And from there, the rest is history. And here we are today. So thank you so much for jumping onto our podcast.
Oh, bless you. Thank you for having me.
So it's honestly, the first thing I like to ask, just keeping it very general to people that I interview, is tell us your story.
Oh, bless. Okay. Buckle up. Oh, well, bless her. Once upon a time in 1995, I was born. So I come from, there are only three of us. So it's my older brother, Tawhaile Tuiana, Yosua Lafaele, and then David Lafaele. So there's only three. I'm the youngest out of three, two boys, only girl. And so my parents moved from Samoa. And so dad comes from Whongapoa and Safutu Lawhai, and mum comes from Lumuenga and Lefanga in Upolu. So they came around the 70s, and then when they moved, and they went straight to Porirua. So I'm born and bred in Cannons Creek. Let's go.
Let's go.
5024 all day. Every day in the motto. So they moved and they came to church, met, and then we were born. So it all started in Cannons Creek. And then when I was 18, mum and dad kind of hesitated because they knew that I wanted to leave Wellington. And it's not easy especially because, I already told you I'm the only girl. And as a Samoan girl, our duty is to, still get education, but is to stay home and to look after the house, because that's pretty much who we are. We're the overseer of, our family and stuff. So it was hard. I couldn't do it without the support of my brothers. Honestly, I was doing PowerPoint presentations at home every day in 2013. Wow. The answer was no.
Wait, when you say PowerPoint presentations to your parents?
Yeah. No, because I have to tell them, because, they didn't know what a computer science degree was. And I always had to go, and, that's why you got to stay consistent, The answer will always be no. But if they see you, keep going and trying to prove that, this is something that you want, they'll, all of a sudden say yes. But can they not say yes on the week before I have to sign my paper? I'm like, it's crunch time now, but...
Testing that patience?
Yeah, hard out. It was testing the patience, but it was hard. It was very hard. So that's when I moved from Cannons Creek to Auckland in 2014 to study computer science. And man, that was a change, a massive change. I was used to going to church on Thursday, whakakalo on Friday, youth on Friday night, and then Saturday would be Gil Falisa, clean the church, and then go to church on Sunday for 2 services. So that was the routine when I grew up. And then all of a sudden it was like, it's now me, and it was scary. So I did 4 years at university figuring out who I was as a person. So I started to figure out why I go to church, why I do these cultural things. And it was good because it was to help me figure out my way, So after all of that, I landed into tech. And man, whew, it only goes, it doesn't go up. It actually goes very up and down. And I think that's something that a lot of people do forget is they only see the hype, they only see the excitement, but they don't see, below the sea level, the hardship, the sacrifice and everything that I needed to do to get to where I was. So that's a very high level of my life. And yeah, bless you.
Yeah. So 2014, you came to Auckland, you graduated in 2018.
Yeah.
I'm very interested to know because it seems like you've had this passion to study computer science when you moved to Tamaki Makaurau to Auckland and you're having these PowerPoint presentations in front of your parents way before then. Like, why digital tech? Like, what instigated that passion for you right from when you were a rangatahi?
Yeah, so what happened was originally my main thing was I was bomb, tulo. I was makwa bomb at chemistry. Chemistry was my jam, I was in the titration competitions. I was doing all these things. I got scholarships at the McDermott Institute. So they're like a nanotechnology crew that go out and, work with fellows and PhD people, so all that stuff, or PhD people. And I think when I was in that environment in science, the actual science, it was pretty like eye-opening because I was like, oh, yo, this is different. It's like cooking, but different, like you get to see things. But it was one time when I think I was year 12, I got sent out to Massey in the summer holidays. And I was doing pollen tubes. And then in that moment when I was at Massey, I think I was walking up to the lab and then I actually stumbled in the computer science room. I don't know how that happened, it didn't happen, but I walked in and I was looking around and it just looked very interesting and different. And I'll tell you this, this ain't like a, Hollywood movie. At the end of that hallway, there was a plaque and it was just full of computer science grades. And then on that plaque, all I saw were just tulo names that weren't associated to, us Māori Pacifica. And I was just looking at it and I was like, oh, true. They were like Tom, Greg. And I was thinking, you know what? From this day forth, I would try something different because computer science was very different and it was very foreign to me. So I tested the water and said, all right, I want to try and get to computer science and try it out. But also I want to be on that plaque. Because I could already see it now. It would be like 5 plaques to put the whole name in the whole thing. But I looked at it and I was shocked, but I was just like, okay, that's something I want to try. And I know that if I see that there's not many of us, then, well, if I don't try, then nothing will happen. So that was really where the passion grew, was from that moment I got sent to Massey University. Yeah.
That's a very powerful story. Fast forwarding to today, and you're one of very few people. In fact, I thought about it before I came. You're like a needle in a haystack. And what I mean by that is not only are you a wahine toa, you only represent of the 2.8% of Pasifika people in the digital economy. On top of that, we know that 4% in the digital economy are Māori as well. Yeah. How does it feel being, and we can talk about you being an evangelist later on, when we get evangelizing up there, preaching the gospel of tech.
Amen.
How does it feel being, one of the trailblazers for our Pasifika community in digital tech today?
Oh, bless. How does it feel? First, it's an honor because it's not something that I've always, it's not something that I'm like, I want to be on top, I want to be makua seki, So it's an honor to be put in that position, but I think it comes with the kind of drive that I have for this kind of stuff. So the feeling, it's very humbling because I'm just like, oh, our sister's only here trying to do her job. But another thing is I do forget, our community is watching and they see that. And if I could use that to support and bring more of our brothers and sisters in, then that itself would make me go to sleep well. Because I know that, I've done somewhat of my job. But the real feeling, you don't have to be like that.
You're the queen.
Bless.
But you know what? I agree. Like, we can acknowledge that you are definitely one of the trailblazers. And, for someone that looks up to you from afar, it's still a problem. right?
Yeah.
We still represent very minimal. You know, we already are a minority in this society of Aotearoa. And then when you talk about even more niche statistics like this, we're still a minority. So it's a problem that we want to try and solve and get more Māori Pasifika people in the tech space.
Hara.
I want to talk about the social enterprise side of you. You know, and I'm going to tell a bit of a story, guys. So during lockdown, the issue was everyone had to just pivot into the online space.
Yeah.
And as we know, with any problems that exist in society, it is those that are of low socioeconomic status, as well as of particular ethnicities, that get hit the worst, especially with technology. We saw that the digital divide was worsened in lockdown, especially for Māori Pasifika, in trying to pivot to go online, to have kids go on to the online classes, to work from home. It was an issue. And then out came about the Queen herself and try to solve that problem. How do you bridge? Well, the mission of DigiTautua is to bridge or provide a bridge to that digital divide.
Yeah.
So therefore, you came about by creating the social enterprise to try and get those laptops into the lockdown space. How did that come about?
So it happened so you know how the lockdown was in August?
Yes.
So I was at work and everyone was stressing because all of a sudden everyone needed to get back home before midnight. So I was just sitting behind watching everyone freak out. And then while everyone was freaking out, I was driving back home and my phone was on fire. And it was just people of, it was like community. So because I did work in the community, just, helping them, trying to teach them how to code or about digital, the digital space, a lot of them just started to frantically call me because when the announcement was made, our community were trying to get help as fast as they could before lockdown. And they knew that, school's tomorrow. These kids hadn't had a laptop even from the first lockdown. So the community leaders were, it was really sad because these were these were our makais, these were our chiefs that I knew at church and stuff. And they were crying to me because they were freaking out because one, they didn't have the resources to support these families. So within that bracket from around 6 p.m. till probably 3 a.m. the next day, it kind of birthed the idea of just, all it was I need to get laptops to these kids. I need to get laptops to these community leaders. So the drive started from there because for me, I was already hurting because they were trying to find help. And I just knew, okay, I'm in the space, I'm on overdrive, I need to find something fast. So then what I did was that I just started calling. And I was calling people for ages and people would be like, I'm sleeping. I was like, yeah, but my people aren't. My people are nervous. My people need support. And from there, probably the first 42 hours of that lockdown, things had to go on overdrive and we had to find as much laptops as I could to just give out. Originally, it was only for 10. But then that 10 turned into like 100 within 3 days.
Wow.
And then I was freaking out because I was like, oh, heaps of computers. I was like, oh my gosh. And then that's when I think I had to really make it public. And then it really started from a LinkedIn post where I just said, hi, everyone. This isn't, Robin Hood, but I need your help and I need it now. And if you can't help me, that's all right. Send prayers. But leave it like that, because I needed to move because, each day was ticking. And I knew that the kids that I was serving, each day away from it meant they needed to go to work. They needed to find a job. So that was kind of the timeline of how things really started for DigiTautua.
Wow, very, very powerful. And may I ask, how many laptops have now been distributed to the community?
Oh, bless you. So all up since the lockdown, we were able to send around like 700.
Wow.
And that was between Auckland and Wellington as well because we managed to move down to the Motu as well. So, yeah, God is good.
All the time.
Amen.
And you know what? Like being the accountant that I am, I'm like, 700 times $1,500 per laptop. Out, there's heaps of money right there.
Heaps, yeah.
Right? And to operationalize and distribute all those to our ainga and our family, big ups to you. Big ups to you.
Thank you very much.
And I want to tell one story because I saw that LinkedIn post. I saw that LinkedIn post. And in fact, we were struggling at the same time because we had to pivot 2 of our Pasifika classes online.
Yeah.
One of those families was a single mother of 6 kids who had no laptop. In fact, the kids didn't have a laptop to even go to school. And I reached out to you and I said, hey, I see you have this opportunity. Will you have a laptop that we can gift to a family who is struggling because she has 6 kids at home, they can't go to school, and she can't even jump online and go to work, right? So just know that even though you've distributed 1 laptop, that has changed many people. And that laptop has changed the life of this ainga that we've worked with. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts, from Education to you.
Thank you. Bless you. Oh.
Well, all I would say is, it's still new territory, and I'll backtrack to that question I asked around, this problem that's still existing in the digital economy around Māori Pasifika being lowly represented. What are some things that are exciting in the software engineer space, or just in tech in general, that you might want to say for those rangatahi that are listening to us today around, maybe considering getting into the tech space?
Yeah, no, that's a good question, eh? For me, I think the most exciting thing is, so I came from a very technical background. So the thing with tech is it's very broad. So you can be non-technical and technical. But I think from a technical sense, I like learning things and I like learning new things from others. So I think a big area that not many people know, not just in development, but also in our community is, how we all grow up trying to be a preacher or we're real good at growing up at being very good public speakers. I think a very exciting scene that's coming up in tech is the thoughtful leadership kind of vibe. So thoughtful leadership in the very technical essence is you'll learn one stack or you'll learn one part of the technical thing, and then you'll go out and evangelize about it or do a talk about it or talk about the problems that you faced with it. And I think a lot of people don't see that side of the technical side where you actually speak about it and actually give examples or give it a very human sense to it. And I think for us in our community, we're very good at that communication aspect. And I feel like it's very hard to learn that kind of skill compared to the technical. Technical is all good. You just read documentation, that's you. You've got it sorted. And with a bit of practice, it will become second nature. But the hard bit in the current state of play with our developers is that communication piece. And I feel like that space that's coming very new, which is the thoughtful leadership, is real exciting because it's like, hey, if we can go out to Sunday school and do our scripture readings in front of our parents, then you can do similar things like that in tech and get, supported, you can get paid for it. And for that, I think it's very interesting that, that there is a room for us in that kind of technical field. So I think that's a very exciting bit. Security is a big thing. My mentor, Ron Amosa, he's in that space within security and infrastructure. So because of the things that are happening and more people going digital, that area of security is quite attractive at the moment. And I think that would be a really great scene for our people as well, just to learn security, but learn to bring that security within our community too. And I think that would be something that not only just our people, but everyone should be excited for too. So, yes.
Absolutely. And I love how you backtrack to, how we all raised, right? We're raised up in local, we're raised up at home, learning particular things. But to bring that into something that might be interesting, like someone might want to go into security, someone might want to go into a class-based product and learn that. Someone wants to be a real hard technical coder, right? And learn that as well.
Yeah.
One thing I love about our communities is we're very kinesthetic learners. Right? Give us something to touch and play around with, we'll pick it up and we'll learn real quick. So I love the fact that you've leaned on that and said, well, you know what, you can come in, use your skills from home and to apply it because there are so many opportunities. Yeah, that's
Hard
awesome.
Out. Bless you.
I want to talk about your career. Because first and foremost, obviously, you got a degree in computer science from AET, amongst many other awesome awards that I've seen. We get it. I went to go stalk you, and you're amazing. Prime Minister's Award, Woman in Tech nominations, just amazing. And then you went from there to Vend as an intern, software engineer intern, and then from there you went and became a full stack software engineer for Voluntarily, and then now you're at Xero.
Yep.
Xero as a developer evangelist. Far out. But you know what? What's really interesting, I'll be curious, like, just to ask you, like,
Yeah.
what do you do? What's your everyday role as a developer evangelist? Well, what is that?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question because it's a really weird, like it's very foreign. Like even I was shocked when I applied for it. So the developer evangelist role really is a person that's a bridge between technical and non-technical. So in a lot of tech companies, a developer evangelist is someone that really advocates for a company's API. So for those that don't know what API is, it's a application processing interface. So like if we think about, you know, when we go to Denny's and we like ask them, like we go in Denny's and we're like, "Hi waiter, can I get a hot fudge cake?" And the waiter will be like, "Oh, another one." And then I'll be like, "Ooh," and then they'll take the order, take it to the cook, and then the cook will come, give it to the waiter to give back to us. So in that scenario, the waiter is an API where it takes information from us to one endpoint to another.
Love that.
Oh, bless you. Oh, well, you
What
know.
an awesome metaphor. You know, what's crack up is I know API and I say it how many times at work,
Yeah.
but your metaphor now just clicks, oh, that's what it is.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
awesome.
No, because I'm always hungry. So yeah, it's so we do that because Xero has their own APIs. We communicate with CEOs and developers for people that build apps that can integrate with Xero. So that's 50% of us where we create that partnership and try and help them technically. And then the other 50% is where we build SDKs. So SDKs are software development toolkits. So what it really is we just take our toolkit, copy and paste the code and put it within your app. So you can, you know, make your life easier, but not easy for us because we have to build the toolkits. So that's pretty much what it is. 50% talking to our partners and involved in there is like talking to conferences about the API and stuff. And then the other 50% is the technical side, which is very rare because you either get technical role or non-technical role. But to get the two is very like, oh, best of both worlds. Hannah Montana.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that you're able to utilize just the awesome vibes that you have and going out and
bless.
preaching the tech gospel to,
Amen.
you know, as an evangelist, that's what you do. And that's awesome, just tying back to the helping people understand what an API is with that metaphor.
Bless you.
So I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You know, I'm just thinking like, you know, there's going to be, in fact, a report in 2018, it's a very old statistic, but I still lean on it. But IBM or Dell, I believe, had reported that 1 billion people either need to change jobs or transition into digital roles by 2030. So that's a third of the global workforce right now. So what we're talking about with digital tech isn't just okay, let's just hold hands and just like go around and talk about digital tech.
Help.
It's an actual big, massive tsunami that's about to come. And it is here.
Yeah.
And it will continue to grow and grow. So we need a lot more people getting into tech roles, and that's what we're trying to do. I'm interested particularly around Māori Pasifika and indigenous peoples and getting them into companies, right? I do want to acknowledge you're one of the trailblazers as well for ERG at Xero, which is called the Employment Resource Group.
Yep.
And it's to help acknowledge the diversity and inclusion of different peoples within companies, particularly within Xero. How do you think, if we were trying to push more diversity into this digital wave into companies, what can companies do to prepare for that and to prepare for that diversity and that inclusion of people? Like, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, from my experience, it's a very tough thing, eh? Like, the one thing is they need to see themselves that, like, they need to see the value of us. And it's not just, you know, we get it, we're there for our skills, but it's us as people, us as Indigenous, us as Māori Pasifika. And there's always that pillar there is a very big miss that I see in a lot of companies. And I think they need to acknowledge that, and they need to, and the thing with me is it's all good to acknowledge, but the actions must always complement, you know, majestic words that they say. And I get that a lot. And I think what we did as a rōpū was they need to see that, yes, when you acknowledge us or when you see value, you need to make sure that, hey, do they even feel safe here? Like, is this a place for them? We use the term where, is the wharenui built for them inside the company? Is the whale built for them? And if it is it strong enough to hold? And I think that's one thing that companies need to understand is there's no linear solution for diversity. Diversity is about being diverse, so there will be different settings for different diverse groups. But for us, Māori Pasifika, the one thing is we need to feel safe. We need to be able to grow, and I think they need to do that. They need to understand the process. They need to understand the culture too. Like in New Zealand, companies really need to go and educate themselves in the Treaty of Waitangi. With that, find strategies that support it. Because with that, it actually brings in, that they understand that this isn't their land. This is the land of tangata whenua. And how can they support? It's a partnership, So then if they're going to bring us in, what's their partnership with us? And it's a lot of big conversations, but it must be said. And like I said before, when it's said, it must have actions to support it. So I think altogether, companies need to understand their workers, and that worker is me as a tamaita'i Samoa. How do they know about me? How do they do cultural intelligence? Do they train themselves? Do they know that if I ask for leave, if someone passes away, it's not 1 day? It's a week. It's 2, but not to, make us feel uncomfortable, because we don't need that. We don't need that stress. And that's just not for fight laves, but that's throughout our whole career. So I think altogether they need to stay educated, but know that if you want to help us, meet us halfway and bring us to that, people say table, but just bring us to that fale or that whala, so that we can roll out everything that we desire, not as us as individuals, but us as a community too. Yeah.
Acknowledge, the obstacles and the hard work for you to get to that point, especially acknowledging that space at zero. But just remember that's the blueprint for future organizations, because when we get more people into the digital space, especially from diverse backgrounds, companies need to be prepared. So just acknowledging what you're doing is a blueprint.
Bless you.
It's awesome.
Thank you.
I want to add on top of what I just said there around something that I heard. So to add on top of what you just said there, Eteroa, I went to a online session last week, and a CEO in the UK said he's interviewed hundreds of CEOs in the UK and the US, and he said the 2 biggest things that they bring up that they're concerned about in the future of their businesses, number 1 is digital transformation. Obvious as, right?
Yeah, hard out.
Digital tech is just everywhere, and it's impacting all businesses. And number 2 is diversity. Diversity and inclusion, not just at the everyday level, but at the top as well. Yeah. So how do you prepare rangatahi to get into organizations to bring their best selves like you, girl, into the workspace and to also become the leaders of the organizations as well?
Yeah, no, that's and how that can happen is creating these groups like the ERG, but also having leadership be part of these ERGs. Because honestly, it's always like that in every other tech company. We've got this ERG, we love it, la-di-da. But the question is, are you in it? Do you support? Do you come and put the chairs down? Do you come and help us cook, And it's not about them being, leaders and then be a leader of the ERG. It's to bring them so that they can break bread with us, to figure out how we work, how we maneuver, how we think. So, they need to create these groups. But a big thing is they need to, once you create these groups, there needs to be pipelines. There needs to be ways to bring us in. But when you bring us in, I've noticed this a lot. When you bring us in, it is not an entry job. Bring us in with experience. We, a lot of us, we have the merit that is needed through these job descriptions. So just the thing is, find us at the right place and meet us halfway. And I get it. We got to do, you have to go through your tests and all that stuff, but we have those skills. So I think it's the creating the community, having leaders be part of that community, but also pipeline it. And I think up the top, they need to learn to have the milk and honey, because at the moment, there's two sides of it. Either there's milk and honey at the top and it doesn't flow within the leaders or within the people in the company, or there's milk and honey at the bottom, but they're not stirring the pot for them to come through and mix and be part of the richness of who we are. And I think that's something that I've always noticed is every company's going to be different. But if there's one champion up there, then that one champion needs to be the influencer to them all to say, hey, we need to have more people that are Māori and Pasifika. We need to have people in different diverse groups up here. Because if you don't, like I always say, is, the one solution to the people that, are in the same group is not the only solution to kind of cater for all. And if you have more of us up there, you'll have many solutions that will help and support not only, the business, but those that are using the product or the software that they're using. So it's like a mind map. Honestly, because sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm only 26. Give me a break.
Come on out.
Yeah, hard out. But it's interesting because the more the more you're in these spaces, you actually navigate. No, this is what's happening, and this is. And I'm not saying that I'm telling you what the right way is. It's a bit altogether. It's a shift in mindset, shift of trying to help them understand that. Yes, there's not enough of our people up in those leadership roles. There needs to be something done. But then, what I always notice is when they say something has to be done, they get a assistant to contact another assistant to come and contact the ERG. When you just, you're just down the road. I'm like, hop in the car, come here, knock on the door, let's have a cup of tea. It's easy like that. But, I think it's just, people just need to understand that we're always ready to have a talanoa. And the door's always open,
I love that. And you've just pinpointed that some of these issues can be changed. Because, we won't expect it overnight, right? I like that saying, like, you don't expect the seed to grow into a tree overnight by throwing a whole bunch of water on it, right? It does take time. Yeah. But there needs to be an acknowledgement that systemic change, even within organizations, need to exist. I totally agree with you. Where's that pipeline? To get more of our people, not just in roles, but to get them confident and assertive enough to go into bigger and better roles as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I love that lash goal.
Get it.
Lash goal. So I've got before we go into our fire round of questions, which I just want people to know you a little bit more, girl.
Yes.
But what is your words of advice? Because there are a lot of people out there that are considering and transitioning into a tech role, or are wanting get into a tech role as a career, especially rangatahi. What's your words of advice to them to getting into digital tech today?
Yeah, my advice is, so the things that I did that really pushed me into tech was, you've got to be seen. You have to be seen. And it's not like it's not like a bot scene, but it's like you need to be seen so that you can try and sniff out and actually look at the environment. Because the thing is, we want to make sure that you want to be in tech, because sometimes we push them into tech, but we need them to actually see, hey, this is actually the environment. Do you feel like this is you? So a big thing is go to these networking events. I know it's like, this and that, but I think if you see it from my view, when you go to networking events, you actually get to see who are in charge of these like companies, who's part of this company. The only reason why is when it comes to the time where you want to apply, you'll actually see these people, you've met them and create relationship with. And I think that was something I've always been like doing since I was 18, was I just go to, I'm at networking events. They're like, oh, where do you work at? I was like, company 102. I'm doing this and that. But what it is it's to just really scan their environment and see, okay, this is someone here, this is someone there. And, if I were you, try, be whaikakala, learn it, like try, and not like the bad whaikakala, but the whaikakala where you get to actually seep your teeth in and try and figure out, is this place for me?
Absolutely.
To figure out, do you have Māori and Pasifika people at work? If so, what do you do there? Because I used to ask all those questions because, I want to make sure that when it's my time, I know exactly where I want to go, So that would be one part. Two is, for the technical side, my only advice is to sharpen up that skill. And what I mean is, just because if you do, so when I was at computer science, I didn't learn industry. I just learned about the history, the algorithms, the mathematics, but it wasn't industry. So the thing that you have to be very aware of is when you come into industry, it's like so different. Everything I learned at uni went down the trash when I was at Vend because it wasn't the same.
Yeah.
The stacks were not the same. The stacks that we learned at uni were already 2-3 years redundant. But the aim for me learning at university was I learned how to learn fast, especially with code. So when I got into Vend, I was like, oh my gosh, I have no idea what's happening. And that's why after Vend, I went back to Dev Academy because Dev Academy was able to give me industry insights. And I was grateful for that because actually I was grateful that I learned fast when I was an intern. So when you're doing technical, it's always good to just sharpen your skill. Because, you could do whatever. Like, you could dress up anything. You could do whatever you want in tech. But all it is your skill. And no one will touch you if you sharpen up that skill. And I learned that the hard way. I really did. And it was sad, but I'm grateful because now I know that no one can touch me now. Because I had to go through that for me to realize. So to stop you all from feeling like that, sharpen the skill so it's so sharp that when they touch you, is that a prick? Am I injured? Yeah, from my skill. So yeah, that would be my big one, is to sharpen up your technical skill. 3 is see, I'm going to come from a very technical side. When you do technical work, it's important that you show you're working. So, for example, when I was applying for my role, they were putting me through tests because you have to for the technical side, but they want to see your actual solution thinking. So when you do the test, it's only about how fast you can solve things. But when you start documenting your thought process on solving problems, it actually becomes very attractive to recruiters or even the technical leads because they see how you work. So my mentor taught me how to write technical blogs. And with these technical blogs, it was just me saying, hey, I had to build a boilerplate for one of my apps. Everything crashed, but here's how I solved it. So it's kind of showing your, like I mentioned, thoughtful leadership. It's how you processed everything and how you got from one end to another. So those are my 3 hot tips for those that are looking. You're like, oh my God, really? It's a lot of work. But this is the thing, I can't sugarcoat, because I know in the industry, people always sugarcoat it to our community, but it is hard work. It's hard work. It's so hard work because it's so foreign, and when you look for help and support, it's not within our community. And that's what I struggled, was that, I can't find it, but I know that it will mean that there's more work for me to do. So I know now that when the new generation come, I can be available to help and support with that as well. So be ready for that, because it's like everything, like everything's going to be hard, but if you stick your mind to it, and you actually find a reason why you're doing it. Because for me, I'll be honest, the reason why I keep pushing was mum and dad. Yeah. Mum and dad was the reason why I did it. I was sick of seeing them going to work 5 o'clock in the morning just so that I could have food at the table. And I think if you have a fire like that makes you keep going, nothing will stop you. So those are kind of the things that my advice to give to those that want to come into it. It looks pretty. Yeah. It really does look pretty, but it's pretty hurts.
Pretty hurts, absolutely. Man, some awesome words of wisdom. And in fact, what I love about all that words of wisdom that you just shared with everyone in this podcast is the challenging the current educational system, especially moving from a knowledge-based content or knowledge from your university degree to a skills-based. How awesome it is to go to a boot camp. Yeah. Well, unfortunately, you had to do that to go there and to learn the industry best practice on how to apply what you learned at university into the real life space. Yeah. But some awesome words of wisdom, and I'm grateful for you. And I love how you ended off with your ainga and your mum and dad. And that means a lot, because it's the same with me as education. Yeah. A lot of what I do stems back to mum and dad.
Yeah, hard out.
Let's go.
Please.
I want to ask you these cool fire questions. So as part of this education, we just wanted to implement this so we can add a bit of humour to what we do. And it's just to get to have the audience know you a little bit more. So I've got 4 fire questions to ask you. Okay. And you just go ahead and answer it.
Yeah.
Okay. First one is, what's your favourite song on your playlist right now?
Oh my gosh, Pule Ono sa Lafaele. So Pule Ono is the vi'i of Sa Futu Lafai. So a vi'i is like an anthem for those that don't know, for every village. Oh, I'm so proud. Like and even though I'm flat, the flatness will not stop me from how proud I am to be from Sa Futu Lafai. So yeah, I'm into my Samoan jams. Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. Body rolling all the way here to the podcast studio. Wait, is it? Second question. What is one thing people get wrong about you? Be honest.
Oh, okay. If I have to be very frank, people think that, how do I say this in a nice way? People think I'm dumb. If I have to be very honest. The reason why I say that, and I have to be very honest through the time that I've been in industry, is they base it off my personality. And then and it's funny because when you watch them, when I say, oh yeah, I was a software engineer, and then the face drops and then they're like, oh,
gotcha.
How? Why? I'm like, sorry? Yeah, I'm like, sorry, where's my care? Like, and the reason why I answer that very honestly is because I'm tired of you can feel it. It's gone to the point where it used to be vocal, and then now it's gone to the point where they're like, oh, how? Oh, true. And I think that's what people always think. And the reason, and like I said, it's my personality, where I'm like, no, you can still have my personality, but still read a book, still have the brains. Yeah. And still able to do the two. So I think that's what a lot of people think is like, she dumb. But I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm amazing. I'm from Cannons Creek. So
absolutely. Put it all the way software engineer.
Exactly. Hard. That, and people think I'm a radio host or something because it's the hype. It's the hype and stuff. And the reason why I have to really shine light to it is that, it's not that. There's more to a person than the actual front, Yes. And I'm not saying I'm being fake, but I can still be happy, sad, and still be Eteroa at the end of the day,
Yes.
And I get that a lot. So it's just something that I always get asked all the time, and I'm like, excuse me. I know who I am. I know that I'm here for my merit and my value.
Absolutely.
And I'm not dumb. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Please.
You hold strong to that, girl. You hold strong to that.
To.
What's your favourite kai? What's your favourite mea ai or food?
Sōwhai. I love sōwhai.
Especially during this cold, wintry.
Yeah, it's so cold now. I love sōwhai. For those that don't know, sōwhai is like a real nice Samoan banana dish with sago.
Sago.
People can be haters, but I like it with a big slab of like fresh bread from the bakery.
With butter. Real butter. Yeah. It's like, cheat day just for today, guys.
Oh, but really, it's the whole month, the whole season. Bliss.
That's awesome. That brings back childhood memories being raised up with their food as well.
Bliss.
And one last question. What's one thing you're grateful for?
Oh, bliss. I'm grateful for family and community. The reason why I'm very grateful for it is my family were they raised me to be who I am. The values they installed with me really moved me and my moral compass. And I really am grateful for that, because now that I'm out of age, I'm able to navigate things that I'm like, oh, true. Like, I didn't see it that way. But then when I hear other people's views, I'm like, no, I see it very different. And I'm a very like, I know I'm real hyper and like, yes, but when I'm in very crucial conversations, I always have to just sit and analyze and really think about options and like, okay, if this is how they're feeling, let's try and find a way to navigate, even though it's a crucial conversation, it's important that we I see it as sailing the sea together, no matter how rough it is trying to be on that middle ground. Because, I grew, I kind of witnessed when I was growing up, especially at church, just, here's people are angry, and I get it, but it's just from my experience from there, I was able to learn, okay, there are other ways to deal with these kind of things. Yes. So I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for friends, because when I moved from Wellington, these friends stepped in to be my family while I was away from home. And I'm very grateful for them, because, they invited me to church. They made me, I came to Konga East. And for me, that was something that was missing when I left home.
Yes.
And I'm very grateful because it kept me grounded. It really kept me grounded, especially with who I am and my identity. I'm so proud to be Samoan. I think that's another thing. I'm grateful to be Samoan. Oh man. I think my heart, really it's full of pride for me to be a Tamaitai Samoa. Everywhere I go, I always carry that. I just carry the mana knowing that, mum and dad came here for me, but I also know that wherever I go, I represent them, but also, my beautiful nation. So yeah, I'm grateful for friends, family, and to be a Samoan woman. Please.
Thank you so much, Eteroa. Can I just say it's been a pleasure interviewing and actually just having a casual conversation with you and me just asking questions for people to get to know. You're the epitome of what we preach at Education, which is to unleash the greatness of people. So thank you so much for jumping on, sharing your light and your knowledge to the world.
Thank you.
Aloha ke le aku.
Oh, malo.